That's right, it's convocation day at Mount St. Vincent University. Yay! Everybody gets to graduate and move on to their menial labor and, well, not just labor, but all sorts of different jobs that a lot of them really didn't want to do in the first place, but they settled for it when they realized what the job landscape is like here in Canada. Unfortunately, a lot of these people probably voted for Harper because this is a pretty conservative area that I'm in right now. I didn't see too many NDP signs, I didn't see too many Liberal signs. Well, that's a good thing, because Iggy was an idiot. But you're looking at the educated people of the East Coast here that seem to think that Harper was our knight in white shining armor. It's actually a little bit unnerving to me to think that a lot of our most educated people in the country don't understand what it means to give a majority government to a Bush like neocon. Like, it's actually very upsetting to me to see this sort of stuff go on. Like, the fact that the NDP did a lot better in this election does show that a lot of people do see a lot of the issues going on, because the NDP were the only party, it seems, that were addressing certain things, like bailing out banks that really don't deserve it, and that created the crisis that we are in. Not to mention the fact that Harper repeatedly has done his best to get us to sign our sovereignty over to the international banksters and essentially be merged or absorbed, if you will, into the United States. He's been doing a lot to harmonize all of our laws with those of the states to prepare us for this North American Union, which is such a big, dirty word right now. Every time I mention North American Union to people, I get conspiracy thrown in my face as if it's a conspiracy. When in reality, this has been going on in secret meetings all over the country for many, many years. There's been protests outside these meetings. We know they're in there, we know what they're talking about. We just don't have access to go in there and voice our displeasure with the WTO. And unfortunately, we aren't getting anywhere with these protests, guys. Every time we set up a major rally against the WTO or against these major central banks that have been major players and destroying nations all over the place, it's actually very sad to see just how quickly you can change people's minds in this country. Because back in 2004, I believe it was, when Paul Martin took away about a third of our beds because the IMF came out and said that Canada was a third world basket case because our deficits were so bloody high. And without actually saying why our deficits were so bloody high, $160 million a day go to the banks just to pay off the national debt every day. And they wanted us to slaughter our deficits, and if we didn't do so, they would be forced to downgrade our credit rating, which would then see our national debt payments balloon and multiply like crazy. And so John Chrétien, he left. He said, no way, no how, I'm not having any part of this, because, you know, that's his name is going to put on it. And then we had our lovely Paul Martin jumped up and said, hey, I'll do it. And a third of our healthcare beds were gone. He took away some money out of healthcare. He took a lot of money away. Took, what was that, $30-some-odd billion surplus that we had in Canada during that majority government, and shelled it all away. It's actually very sad what was done there. We conceded our sovereignty. We literally bowed down and worshipped the IMF for the chance to be a part of that global system, which is now imploding this entire country. I cannot point out more how insane this sounds. If you are going to do the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results, that is the actual definition of insanity. It's not cool to think that, you know, we could have a lot of information about a political candidate, but as soon as the campaign starts, automatically everything we know about these guys goes out the window, and then it becomes a beauty contest. Or, oh, was he a Christian? Oh, what type of Christian is he? Is he my denomination? Oh, he doesn't want gay marriage. I like that. Oh, he wants to integrate us into the world resources and the world economic system that's been raping this country for many, many years, and yet we still give a majority. And now you understand why, when I see a big group of university kids all graduating right after an election like that, how little that makes me happy, how little that actually gives me hope for our future. Because, you know what, a lot of those kids, if you talk to them, they don't have a damn clue what's going on. They don't have a damn clue. Half of them don't even know what they're doing with their lives yet. A lot of these people went into arts programs, are going to come out with degrees in worthlessness. Next thing you know, they're going to be ending up as a manager for McDonald's, because it pays more than actually being an artist of any kind. It's actually very sad that a lot of photographers who have a lot of skill in their particular art, a lot of them end up joining the military because it's the only thing that pays for photographers. And not to mention just the lack of interest in our government in funding the arts and the fine arts. It's almost like the Harper government, as they so dubiously dubbed themselves. We can't call it the Canadian government, it's the Harper government. They seem to dislike arts. They seem to think that finance and bailing out banks and fascism is the answer to our issues here in Canada. But unfortunately, that's just what caused these issues. It's this bipartisan bullshit where both parties are owned and bought by the banks, and they're all lobbied to do exactly what the banks and the corporations that grew up around them want. We've got corporations legislating profits. We got laws being passed that literally cement profits for many large corporations that aren't even in this country. And unfortunately, in order to give them those profits, a lot of the legislations are of the nature of relaxing regulations. We've allowed a lot of major big food retailers to do self-checking when it comes to food and safety. All they have to do is pay a few $1 million, and they'll have the right to regulate themselves. That's what caused the whole listeriosis outbreak there in 2007. I think 17 Canadians died from that. Now, we said that was going to happen roughly a decade before that, when the reports came out about them wanting to do this. It's called Codex Alimentarius. Look it up, codexalimentarius.com. You can look on the website, it's real. It's a giant bureaucracy that's funded by the World Health Organization and the Food and Agricultural Organization, which are both branches of the United Nations. So, literally, Codex Alimentarius is a United Nations funded bureaucracy, which is relaxing our food laws here in Canada, trying to harmonize our laws with the rest of the WTO. And the way they do that is they have one country, let's call it the United States, that has barely any food laws. And the food laws that they had were being relaxed. They're allowing DDT back, and they're allowing 7 of the 9 precipitant organic pollutants that the people banned back in the 70s, like DDT. 7 of the 9 are actually going to be allowed back in your food, and in actually higher levels than they were before. This is Codex Alimentarius, people. And every single time you see one of these major corporations solidifying profits through legislation, this is what they're operating on. This is this giant bureaucracy, which most of the physicians who have looked at the levels, the LD50 toxin levels that they will be allowing, it's actually very scary. They're saying that just the food and drug guideline alone under Codex, if it actually does go into global implementation like they wanted it to back starting in 2009, that the food and drug guideline alone would kill about 3 billion people worldwide. Now that number is outstanding to me. 3 billion people worldwide. That's half of the population just from the food and drug guideline alone, and that's not everything else that the corporations can think of later. Like, seriously, we've got a major issue on our hands. Like, as it stands right now, 1 billion people are going to starve to death, as per Codex regulation, and the way that food is going to be distributed under Codex. And on top of that, we have 2 billion people which are going to die from preventable diseases caused by undernutrition and bad nutrition and bad food and bad water and etc. We have poison in our water. We have poison in our food. It's actually gotten to the point where certain kinds of cereals that have the enriched with minerals like iron and stuff like that. Did you know that you can take a regular neodymium magnet, which is just a powerful kind of regular magnet. It's not an electromagnetic thing or anything like that. It's just a regular magnet, but it's powerful. Neodymium magnets can actually separate the iron pellets from the cereal. I watched a little interesting video there where they poured some cereal into a thing and mixed a little bit of water into it until it was all soggy and came apart. And then they wrap a magnet, one of these neodymium magnets, in plastic. And so they stick it in the water, they swish it around, then when you take it out, you notice there's a bunch of little iron pellets that are actually big enough for you to see that are attached to the bag. If you carefully take the bag out and let all of the iron pellets fall off of it, there's a lot of iron pellets that are just thrown into the food, and that is something that just shocked me, because you can actually see it. You can take a magnet and you can move it around underneath the table, and all these little iron pieces just follow the magnet on top of the table. And our children are eating this. This is Codex, people. Now all of a sudden you got iron pellets in your food. You got fluoride and high levels in your water. They're now talking about adding lithium to our waters, and apparently that's for to make people happy with their job. If you look up lithium, it's used in bipolar medications. So basically, you know, everybody is going to be receiving bipolar meds, and we're all going to be chemically induced to love our servitude, as per it was said in Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. You should pick that book up, it's good. It tells you basically everything that's going on, and it's accurate, it's extremely accurate. Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. It's funny how much we've taken Aldous Huxley's Brave New World and the book 1984 by George Orwell and made it a reality. It's almost like our world leaders took these books and are using them as guidelines, essentially, to piece together this whole global police state grid that they want us all to be under. I see the same scams, the same two-party political scams going on in pretty much every member nation of the WTO, especially those within the Commonwealth, and unfortunately, these people have a lot of say in what goes on in our countries. We don't have very much say. It's getting to the point where basically if all of us were to band together against these people, you know, the amount of say that we would have in our country is about 15 to 25% say in what goes on in our country. We've almost lost our sovereignty already, guys. We are just holding on to it by our fingernails, and that's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate because I see our future being squandered by the same people that we seem to be giving more and more of a dictatorship to every single time. I think this majority government we just gave Harper is probably about as close as we can get to a dictatorship without actually giving it to him and claiming him king and then murdering all of his opposition. It's sad. It's unfortunate. I've been saying this for many, many years, that Codex was coming down. It's starting, and it's right on cue. If you look at what happened in the United Kingdom about a week and a half ago, when Codex came down, all of a sudden there was a nation or a Europe-wide ban on herbal remedies. And now, if I wanted to sell you echinacea for your cold, I could go to jail because it's now illegal in the same way that heroin is illegal. Anyway, there's a couple thoughts for you to think about. Look up Codex Alimentarius, and if you don't, you're an idiot. Just like all of those poor, tricked little dupes that we see gathering for convocation at the university. Anyway, it is May 19th, 2011. This is my little truck rant for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and tune in next week.